Okay, we're going to look at different pieces today. We're going to continue looking at some of the built-in generators. I like to think of them in Blender. And I'm going to have you pick your own flag tutorial, cloth tutorial, and then I have you do this one here. Last time we explored, let's see, which one is it? That one. We explored rigid bodies. This time we're going to talk about cloth, and we'll eventually get into a lot of these different ones. Okay, so I'm gonna create a plane. So do add mesh plane. I'm gonna do a GZ to move it along the Z axis, and I do an S and move it out like that. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to make that cloth. And over here, again, under this moon going around the Earth, Earth going around the sun, whatever that represents. I'm not big physics, but if you click that, then there's a cloth option. Don't know what most of this is. I could sit there and read it off the documentation to you. But these settings here determine what kind of experience you're going to have. Now, if we do the play, we'll see our cloth take effect. Now, two things are going to affect it. One of them is collisions, which we haven't set anything up, and the other one is vertices. Okay, so let me play it. And see, it passes right through the cube. As I mentioned, we don't have any collisions set up. It's similar to rigid bodies, where it just kind of falls according to gravity, but you have to have something to collide it with. So how you do that is you select whatever object, and you see there's a collision. Now, again, lots of different options here. Couldn't tell you exactly what all this means in terms of trying to get a certain effect. That's why I'm directing you to YouTube videos to give you a little bit more realistic than what I could give you. Okay, now if I do it. Well, that's not very cloth-like. Remember the other thing I told you, vertices. We only got 4 vertices. You know, how's it going to bend like a cloth when you don't have enough vertices? So if I have the plane selected and I can choose edit mode here or do a tab, right click, subdivide, right click, subdivide, right click, subdivide, right click, subdivide. However many is appropriate for whatever you're doing. You don't want to go overboard. Okay, now if I go back and play my animation, I'm going to see something a little bit different. Gives us a cloth simulation. Now, part of that is also how to handle collisions. Down here, you see there's collision quality. How many collision iterations should be done? Higher is better, quality, but slower. We're going to go with bad quality in Blender here just so I don't crash my computer and things run fast, but this is where you can affect that. The self collisions down here. Let's clap some of this. There we go. Okay. if I check self-collisions, this is friction with self-contact, distance, minimum distance between cloth faces before collision response takes effect, clamp collision impulses to avoid instability, 0 to disable clamping. Okay, so if I just run that. The different settings you would have here would affect what you've seen over here with the self collisions. Let's see, there's an add, and there's an add empty, and I could choose plane axis, arrows, whatever, like a cube. Do a G for grab, and got an empty here. Although there's another way of doing this. Why would you create an empty with nothing in it? Doesn't really. Well, it's so you can apply maybe a force field. So click force field. You do the drop down here, and you can see how you can apply wind. Now, you see over, and I'm trying to show you all the different components that I think you'll need for any YouTube video you find on this topic. For example, if you're creating a flag, you need to make a cloth. I just showed you that. You need to be able to handle collisions. I've showed you where to find that at. If you want your flag to blow in the wind, you have to have wind. Now notice this is pointing up, but you can do a rotate. Need to escape. Think about this. Rotate about the x-axis, I think. RX. We do RX 90. Okay, escape RX 90, 108, 270. Okay, there. Then you rotate this view here, and you can see whether it's where you want it to be. Okay. Run that there. Some of that is just applying despite this, because I didn't think I was headed close enough to really have much of an effect. But when you have your empty chose here, you see there's also strength. And when I do that, see how it increases the little circles there? Okay, so let's do that then. Now you see the wind is blowing out to a greater extent. Comes down. Wind starts blowing it more than it did before. $2,000. Starts blowing my wind off. Okay, so you can see the effect on that. There's a lot of different options besides wind. We're probably not going to look at everything during this this class in terms of the animation, but these are natural effects that will help you in creating an animation. That would take you forever if you try to manipulate objects or vertices or whatever. By using these, then you can very quickly get some kind of look. And Most of the stuff we'll do in here probably won't look good because, again, I'm keeping everything at low quality. Um, the amount of that I render and so forth, just because it takes so long if you want the good quality. And my machine's not powerful enough to handle that, to be honest. Okay. Me do a new here. Okay. So, let me give you the general idea of a flag. We've looked at applying the cloth, um, and we've looked at like wind, how to do that on an empty. Now, by the way, you don't have to have a cube when you do an empty. Just choosing that. Then I can remember which one it is. I guess that's that one. Force field, wind. You see that applies like that. So, okay. So now I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to add on a mesh and a plane. Do an S, make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to rotate it about the Y, so RY90. RY90. Okay. It's got our general shape of a flag here. I guess I can make it a little bit more SY. Remember, in order to have a proper flag, you have to have vertices, because otherwise you have 4 and it doesn't bend very much. Let's see. So I'm going to go in to edit, right click to subdivide. I'm going to show you a different way to do a subdivide here in a little bit. Okay, so we got that. Go back to object. Over here under my physics, cloth. And by the way, it's not really jumps out at you, but it's got a lot of options here that you can set. But then up here, you'll see cloth presets. Because they recognize not everybody knows what tension, compression, and shear and bending should be for a particular type of cloth. So if you want it to be cotton, you can choose that, denim, leather, rubber, silk. If you develop your own, then you can put a new preset up there. So if you find one you like and you want to add it into the list, then you can. I'll just go with the defaults. Okay, now if I run this, yes. That's interesting. Microphone, ready. Leave computer audio, join audio. Can you hear me now? No. Can't hear me. Let's see. Share your screen. Okay. Not that you can hear me, but I'm request remote control. Let's see. Fortunately, these are probably my settings. You figured it out? Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Oh no, I'm just glad you figured it out because it's like, how in the world am I going to see your settings in Zoom for audio? No, that's no problem at all. Okay. Um, but what I did here is I dropped on a plane, I rotated it, I added a bunch of vertices, and then I added the cloth um, over here in the physics. I added the cloth, and um, and now when I do a play, it'll drop down forever because we don't have any collisions. Well, on a flag, besides colliding with itself, maybe you're not going to have any collisions. So let me move that up. Let me move that up a little bit. So to GZ. What I want to do is I want to pin this to something. Now, it's not like what you might think. In the tutorial you'll find on a flag, you'll find where they'll have you create a flagpole, which no, isn't too bad. You can very quickly probably create a like a cylinder, and extend it, SZ for scale there, SZ. I did an S there. And then put it like over here. Now, you're still going to want to put a collision on the flagpole, like we looked at before. Have this, you click the collision here, and then do the settings like they might tell you in the video. Because our flag, when it drops down, if it drops down, we don't want it to go through the mesh. But in order to pin it, there's really nothing to do with the flag being pinned to the whatever object. It just appears that way. How you do the pinning is you have your flag selected. If you go into edit mode, down, let's see, where's it at? Yeah, three circles here, a little triangle. We need to define vertex groups, specifically where we want our flag to be pinned. So I'm going to select one of these vertices here, hold on my shift key, excuse me, select that one, and I can select this one down here and this one down here. So I've got 4 vertices selected. These are where I want them to be pinned, where the cloth is not going to move. If you're doing a simulation on a curtains, then you'd have to pick the appropriate place to pin it. Now I need to give this a name, so I'll click this plus over here, and I'll double click that, change it from group to flag, flag pins. Give it some kind of name, and then I'll click the assign, and this will assign whatever vertices I have selected to that vertex group. Okay. So now if I go back to object mode, let's see, where's my physics? There it is. This is different than what you'll find in, I think I've identified everything that moved around and so forth. But this is different than what you probably see in videos unless you get a new video on the newest version. I had to locate this myself. It's under shape. And here's pin group down here. This is a vertex group for pinning of vertices. This is how you tell it what vertex group that you want it to be pinned. So if I click that, you see flag pins comes up there. And that's how I just pinned those. So now if I do a play on this, you see it comes down. And I put the collision on the flagpole so it wouldn't go through it. Now at this point, I could maybe move it closer. I could do that, or I could, have all kinds of different effects. Move it closer. Okay. Now, you see there's other things you can play with here: stiffness, pin stiffness, shrinking factor. I couldn't tell you what all these are. Collisions. Self collisions is important. You'll see that in the different tutorials and so forth. So couldn't tell you what the best settings are for that. But again, proper collisions with itself is what gives you a good look. Now wind. Again, part of that with a flag tutorial is dropping on a wind. So that's, remember, we did add, empty, and your choice on what to use. Put it up here. You do need to rotate this if you're wanting it to be dead on. Right there. Having your view top, front, and all those would help you do that too. Now, if I click force field here, and choose wind, I'm going to rotate that because now the wind's pointing up. So I do R about the x-axis. I have to think which axis is coming toward me, type of deal. So I do R, X. I think it was 270 we did. There we go. Change your strength to something. There's 200. 200 might normally cause it to fly away, but it's pinned. So let's see what that does. And there's our flag flapping in the wind. I could not tell you. That's actually not too bad. Usually I stink at picking numbers because I don't remember them, so I just pick randomly. But again, creates your animation for you. Okay. Now another thing that you will see in there is they'll probably apply some kind of image onto the flag. So let's talk about that. There's a few steps on this. So hopefully I should have put this in a PowerPoint so I remember all the steps. Okay. Part of applying an image, and I'm going to do it kind of sloppily, but part of applying an image is that you cut the mesh, like lay it flat so you can like paint on it, type of deal, or apply an image direct flat on it. This is done automatically for the basic shapes. If I come here, go to the UV editor, and I went into over here edit mode so you can see this. This is how it cuts the cube. So you then can work with this. You can do your own cuts on it, and I'm not very good at this. But if I chose my edge select there, if I just do a select on everything, and I selected everything by doing A. If you do UV and you say mark seam. What this does is it marks all the seams that I have, or all the edges I have selected as seams. That's where I'm going to do cuts. And if I do UV and I do unwrap, that's how it cuts it. You know, and that seems like, well, that didn't look too hard. Well, no, but by cutting it in that manner, then these aren't next to each other. So these two squares right here may not be next to each other over here. So if you're trying to apply some kind of image that goes across these faces, doesn't work right. That's why proper marking and cutting of it is important. I'm going to do Control Z. There are some options I've tried to provide that that help with this. Smart UV project. This script projection unwraps selected faces of a mesh. Operates on all selected mesh objects. Can be used to unwrap selected faces or all faces. Okay, so angle limit. Click OK. It tries to intelligently do it. That's not much better than what I came up with. Well, I didn't unmark the seams. Let's see. Got everything selected. UV. Clear seams. Okay. Now let me, I got everything selected. Let me do a Smart UV project. Click OK. It still doesn't. So, but anyway, you see. If you got a cube-like shape, then you can do this. If you got a cylinder-like shape, you can do this. Sphere, do this. Okay, let me go to object mode. Let me delete this. And I'll add on a mesh UV sphere. Go into edit. And when you do a UV sphere projection, that's what it gets. It applies the appropriate seams to this so you can then lay it flat. It's kind of like you're got a basketball. You're taking a knife and you're doing cuts. Your goal is to lie it flat so then you could like paint on it. I think it's an art to take something and do that. But okay, let me delete that. Not a mesh, a cube. Go into edit mode. If got that selected, so I select this one right here, select this one right here, and select this one right here. I think I got them all selected, yeah. So doing UV, mark seam, and now if I did a UV unwrap, select everything, I guess. Now I do a UV unwrap. Gives me something bad because of what I've selected. This would be very hard to work with, to apply some kind of image to. Okay, do Control Z, put it back. The seams I marked looks like they're in pink. I have to go on this other side. Select this. Hold on my shift key. Select this. Those other seams are already marked, so I don't need to remark them. And select this one. And now if I do UV, mark seam. A to select everything. Now let me do a UV unwrap. Boy, I thought I had it. Oh, I stink. Oh, I don't have this. No. Okay, I got the bottom one selected here. But over on this side, I got the top one selected. No wonder. Okay, let me clear that seam up there. I thought I knew how to do a cube. And select the bottom one. and I mark the seam. Okay, do an A to select everything, do UV. That's worse. Okay, select everything and unselect it. Reset. There we go. And UV clear seam. Okay, everything's back where it was. It's like you want to do a cut. Is what we're doing there. Okay, so I got those selected. Select this one. Come over here. Hold down my shift key. Select nose. Hold down my shift key again. Select nose. Okay, UV. Mark seam. Got everything selected. UV unwrap. Boy, I just. Okay, well, let me cheat. Blender, cube, UV, seam selection. See where I should say I just don't have a cube as if it's too easy. But anyway, they tell you, like here, to do this, you do one cut. If you mark your seam right here, then when that is cut, you can lay it flat and you can see it over here. For the monkey, for Suzanne. You can see where the cuts should be made. And then this is cutting over here. And what it should look like, if you unwrap it nicely, Blender, Suzanne, UV unwrapped. Pictures, I need pictures. Looks like those are just blogs. This is what I was looking for. After you've done your unwrapping, if you put your cuts in the appropriate place, then you'll have this right here. And some of the tutorials talk about how you can export this into like paint.net or Photoshop or whatever, and then you can do your coloring. And then when you reapply it, it comes out looking like this. So you got a very exact way to apply colors or images or whatever. If you don't do your cuts in the right place, you can't spread the. So it's like you're. I know it sounds weird, but it's like you're peeling the skin off the skull of Suzanne and laying it out flat, and you're going to paint it, and then you're going to glue it back on. Okay. Oh, one other thing I want to show on that I think you might need for any flight tutorial. Okay, so I got my my cube here, and I'm clicking in the corner here when it becomes a white plus to make new windows. though I have a hard time seeing it. Now, if I want to apply an image to this, just very crudely, then if I come here and choose File Browser, and you have to choose this drop down here and choose Thumbnails. And I'll go to Pictures. There we go. And then down here, I will go to, which one is it? Shader Editor, UV. Not that one. There it is, Shader Editor. We've got our cube selected here. And if I scroll down to the Pink Panther, if I click this, drag and drop it here, for whatever reason I can't drag and drop a name. It has to be a thumbnail. To make this bigger, you want to connect that to your base color. And applies that. But even more than that, if we go to our UV editing, you see you have your image here. So, and the other thing they might show you on the tutorials is to create a new image. You do image new. Okay, now this right here, pick your own cloth tutorial on YouTube and finish it. And I gave an example like a shirt. Let me open my werewolf. Where's it at? Not very good at this. That's why I'm directing you to the video or the tutorials. You get a better idea. Where's wireframe? Okay, wireframe here. If I select, go into edit. Okay, now I'm in edit. If I do C for circle select, and I use my mouse wheel to make it bigger, and okay, everything was selected to begin with. Okay, now I do my C for circle select, and go through. Although there's different ways of making a shirt, that should select those vertices to escape. And if I rotate around, it selects the vertices back behind in your wireframe. Let's see. I think it's Shift D, but I'm trying to. Okay, let me try Shift D. Yeah, Shift D. Shift D makes a duplicate of whatever you have selected. So if you do a Shift D as in duplicate, and then you just click and apply it, then you've just created a new object, a new mesh. Specifically, this would be like our shirt. So then if you go back to object mode, and I'm gonna get out of the wireframe because I just find that disturbing. Which one's probably best? Okay. Now if I do an S for Which one do I have selected? There it is. Okay, so I have that one selected. If I do an S for scale, make it a little bit bigger. Position it if appropriate. And change this to thick outliner. No, not that one. Properties. Okay. Then if I put that as cloth, and let's see, I don't think I have that one selected. But this other one, you make a collision. Now, if I did a play now, it'll drop right through. I believe. I had everything selected. I must not have duplicated it correct. Because it looks like it's still connected. Okay, so if I got that, I want to separate it. So where's the separate? Separate selection. There we go. Now, go back to object mode, and now these are two separate ones. Make sure my cloth is not on. How do you get rid of cloth? I'll just choose it again. Okay, so then check this. Cloth is still applied to that. Now, if I did an Alt A, or not Alt A, that's the old. See, it drops through. But it's cloth. And if I choose this and I choose collision, see how my shirt is now hanging loose. So when I do an animation, the cloth will move automatically. So anyway, that's a very fast way to create cloth. Doing different colors and so forth, it would actually look better than what you're seeing here. For pants, it could be that if there's enough collision there, your pants will drop off. Well, in real life, you have a belt, so you can pin it. So if you pin your pants up here, they're not gonna fall off. Yeah, I want you to do some kind of cloth tutorial. I suggest a shirt because that's kind of what I'm showing you here in class. But if you want a different option, I'm open to that. Now this one, by the way, I'm going to talk about this one here in a second. But this guy's fantastic. Andrew P. Price videos. I might have it open. Blender Guru. You see, he has quite a few subscribers, and he puts out some tutorials here, and they're not hard to follow, I don't think. And you see here, he's got some for the newest version. Here's how to make realistic curtains in Blender. Probably more in depth than you want. Some of these you see got, like this one has 8 parts. There's a 14 minutes on that one, and some of these other ones are 30 minutes. By the time you get done with that, you put in 3 or 4 hours for that one. I'm not looking for that extensive. You can find shorter ones. These in particular, don't pick these ones unless you just love this. Don't pick these ones that have like 7 or 8 parts. But anyway, this is a good. He's got good tutorials. I don't even know how many videos he has now. Oh well. He's got playlists too. So if there's something particular you want to focus on, then you come up here. One-off and intermediate Blender tutorials, and he's got these quick tutorials. The full playlist. Now, some of these are based upon the old version, and this is the one I'm going to have you do. This builds upon our rigid bodies from last time, and that's what he creates with that. Now, part of it, though, is since this is the older version, some things have changed. So I want to mention that. First off, he'll have you, you're not going to sit there on the animation and create 1,000 blocks or whatever. So he'd probably have you use a modifier of some sort. If you have your cube selected, there's this little wrench over here. You click Add Modifier. Now, I told you I was going to talk about this. There's a Subdivision Sub-Surface. This splits the faces into smaller parts, giving it a smoother appearance. I think I went in here and I chose my viewport. Render is what it looks like when you rendered, which you want higher quality there. But the viewport is what you'd actually see. I think I changed that to 10. And it very quickly went up to like in the millions for the number of vertices. And I think I finally killed my machine. No, I came back finally and I deleted it and started over. Okay. But you may see that they may see that refer to that in the flag tutorials, especially where you're trying to create more faces so you can work with them. Notice how it changed it here, the cat and mole Clark algorithm. If you choose simple, it puts it back to there. And you click apply. Then you come over here and you see you got more vertices. It's kind of like you did a subdivide. I don't know if I can apply it in the edit mode, but we'll try it. Too simple again there. Change this. Can't apply where you're in edit, excuse me. And now I got a bunch of those. So if you're sitting there doing a subdivide over and over, and some of you have learned other techniques for that, but if you're wondering if there's a quick way to do it, well, that's a quick way. Okay, let me do a Control Z, get rid of all that. I'm going to do a viewpoint, and then from the top. I have a hard time with this unless I view it from a certain angle. And then I want to go to the wrench, click Add Modifiers, and there's an array option. It's been a while since I went through the video this morning, but I didn't even pay attention to how you created all the cubes. But this is one way. We got two separate cubes here, and you see there is a constant offset and a relative offset. And if I change this to 2 for the relative offset, see we got 2 there. You can change this count. And it creates 5 of them, 5 for the count. Now, if you add another array modifier on top of that, that kind of puts it over that way, and that's why I have to have this in front of me so I can see it. collapse that. Okay, this is the new one. So I had 5 there. Get rid of my 0 there. Put 2 there. Now, you see this, you can create a array of cubes very quickly. Now, these are all connected at this point. If I go into edit mode, there's my original, looking for it. And if I select the vertex there, if I do a G for grab and move it up, it applies it across the board and everything. Okay. Now you can apply these modifiers, and then it puts each one of these as their own vertices. They're distinct, so you can then move those. Okay. Here is object, rigid body, and here you have your different options here. Specifically, there's one that says copy from active. He refers to that in the video, but the interface has changed. So if you're looking for a copy from active, that's where it's located at. And any of the other options that go under rigid bodies is here too. Get past the video or past the ad here. But you'll go through and you create this this chain, and he gives you shortcuts. Now, I haven't checked every one of these shortcuts, but see down there in the lower left-hand corner it says Shift R, and you do that 5 times. I don't remember if you do Shift R and then press number 5. But part of that is repeating the same command. Let's see, GX1, enter. Shift R, as I press that over and over, moves it 1 unit. So Shift R wouldn't even be bad if you're trying to have it move instead of manually moving it. Repeating that action moves it over one unit, Blender unit. Now, how about if I do a 5? Let me put this back. Okay. Shift R5. No, Shift R5. Now it's gone. Let's see. GX1. Enter. Shift R5. No, you just do Shift R over and over. Okay, I didn't remember that. But anyway, it'll put that down here, so you can walk through it. Now, for the assignment, again, I want you to find a flight tutorial, knowing what version you're in, and you should, when you go into it, you'll see it. .9. I thought you saw it when you went in. That's bizarre. I'm sure they had that on there. Where can I see it then? Oh well. Blender 2.9, and then flag tutorial. And you'll come up with ones that match your specific version. Flags with vendor 5 months ago. That should be a new version. You know, this is probably a nice one, but it's not the newest version. Although I think I've shown you that you can do it. 2.9 is the newest version. My memory's not the greatest. Yeah, 2.9. New versions out. They keep coming up with more and more new versions. One thing I'm determined to learn this semester is I never have ever used dynamic paint. I know the idea behind it. It's like where you could take an object and use it as a paintbrush on another object. And so you create an animation with like a sphere moving around on a plane, and it would actually be painting on the plane while it's moving. So pretty cool feature, but I never have used it. Fluid we'll get to in coming classes, but we'll do very basic ones. Now, in some of these, you can get a view of what it looks like by going up to your edit and choose operator search, and then start typing quick. These are kind of fun. And you see there's an explosion here. There's liquid, fur, and smoke. If I choose quick explode, doesn't feel like it did anything, but if I run it, it blows up. The explosion is much more interesting if you got lots of vertices. So again, we come over here and do a subdivide. What did I go into? Okay. They're just simple. Then click apply on it. Now if I do my explosion, you see you got more pieces. So the quick allows you to do that. Operator search. You can type in whatever here. So if you're trying to figure out how to do something. Oops, if I have it selected. About out of time. So you can apply fur directly. And see the settings it has on it too. But anyway, those are the projects for this week. Those three right there. This is the wrecking ball with the rigid bodies and handling collisions and so forth, and basically 2 items on cloth. Questions on any of that? Well, I'll go ahead and stop the video then.